Classic straight fries. These are the foundation that every other fry style gets measured against. A potato is peeled, cut into uniform rectangular strips, and fried in oil until the outside is golden and the inside is soft. The cut is usually around a quarter to half an inch thick, landing somewhere between thin and substantial. McDonald's made this style the most recognized fast food item on the planet, and their specific process, which involves blanching, freezing, and frying in a precise sequence, produces a fry with a thin, crispy shell and a light, almost airy interior. The seasoning is salt and nothing else, which is intentional. A well-made straight-cut fry does not need anything added to work. Shoestring fries. These are cut extremely thin, sometimes less than a quarter-inch wide, and they fry fast because there is so little potato to cook through. The result is a fry that is almost entirely crusted with very little soft interior, which makes them exceptionally crispy, but also means they go cold and soggy faster than thicker cuts. Shoestring fries appear frequently in upscale burger restaurants, where the thin, delicate presentation contrasts with the heaviness of the burger itself. They are also the style most commonly used in homemade fry recipes because the thin cut forgives inconsistency in oil temperature better than thicker versions. Steak fries. On the opposite end of the spectrum from shoestring, steak fries are thick, wide wedges of potato with a substantial soft interior and a relatively thin crust relative to their size. The name comes from their traditional pairing with steak at American steakhouses. Where something hearty enough to sit alongside a large cut of beef made sense. Because they are so thick, the interior stays fluffy and almost baked potato-like while the outside brown. They require longer frying time and a lower initial temperature to cook through, without burning the outside before the center is done. Steak fries are forgiving to eat because they hold their heat longer than thinner cuts. Crinkle cut fries. The wavy, ridged surface of a crinkle cut fry is created by a specific blade that moves in a zigzag pattern as it cuts through the potato. Those ridges dramatically increase the surface area of each fry, which means more crust per piece and more places for seasoning and dipping sauce to cling to. As crinkle cuts became associated with school cafeterias and frozen food brands in the United States because they were easy to produce at scale and held up reasonably well through the freezing and reheating process. Or Ida built much of its brand identity around the crinkle cut. In recent years, they have made a comeback in restaurant settings where the nostalgic association is part of the appeal. Waffle fries. A mandolin slicer fitted with a crosshatch blade cuts the potato in alternating perpendicular passes, producing a latticed fry with an open grid structure. The design creates an enormous amount of surface area relative to the amount of potato, which means maximum crunch and maximum sauce holding capacity. Chick-fil-A made waffle fries a mainstream American format, and they remain one of the chain's most ordered items. That the large flat surface makes them ideal for loaded preparations where toppings need something sturdy to rest on. Because the grid structure allows oil to circulate through the fry during cooking, they tend to crisp more evenly than solid cuts of similar thickness. Curly fries. A spiral-bladed cutter moves through a whole potato in a single continuous pass, producing long, coiled strips that hold their curl through the frying process. The shape creates varied thickness along each fry, with thinner sections that crisp up completely and thicker coiled sections that stay soft inside. Arby's made curly fries a fast food staple and seasons them aggressively with a spiced coating that includes paprika, garlic, and onion powder, which is why Arby's curly fries taste distinctly different from the potato itself. That the seasoning clings to the curled surface more effectively than it would on a flat straight cut. The shape also makes them more fun to eat, which is not a nutritional consideration but is a real one. Loaded fries. This is less a specific cut and more a preparation style that has become its own category in American casual dining and street food culture. A base of fries, usually thick cut or waffle style for structural integrity, gets topped with combinations of cheese sauce, pulled pork, bacon, jalapenos, sour cream, chili, or whatever the kitchen decides to pile on. Loaded fries became a staple of sports bars and late-night menus in the United States during the 2000s and expanded into a global street food format with regional variations across the UK, Australia, Canada, and beyond. The Canadian version, poutine, which uses cheese curds and gravy, is arguably the most disciplined and nationally codified version of the loaded fry concept. Poutine. Poutine originated in rural Quebec in the late 1950s, and the exact origin is disputed between several small towns in the region. Fresh cheese curds, which squeak against your teeth when fresh and melt partially but not completely into the dish, are placed over a bed of thick-cut fries and covered in a hot, savory brown gravy. The heat of the gravy softens the curds without fully melting them, creating pockets of gooey, salty cheese throughout the dish. It spread from Quebec across Canada and eventually into American border states and cities before becoming internationally recognized. In Quebec, it is considered comfort food at a cultural level, available at fast food chains, diners, and high-end restaurants with equal enthusiasm.